Hello, my friends, and welcome once again to the groovy Fawn Manor, where Roger and I are going to tell you about a little adventure we had recently. Now, you might have noticed that I was not on the booktube yesterday, and actually, I've been gone for 6 weeks. 6 weeks my time, anyway. You see, my pal here, he's not just an ex-pharaoh. He's not just a world-famous supermodel. No, he's also a Time Lord. Isn't that right, Roger? Roger has his own time machine. So we decided to take advantage of this and go traveling through the 1970s. It was far out, man. We had a good time in the 1970s for 6 weeks. And one of the reasons we went is we thought, you know what? Let's get some old-timey vintage books for our science fiction project, the Vintage Science Fiction Project. We have one more box that we need to fill up. And so Roger's like, let's do it right now. So this is the final box in the Vintage Science Fiction Project, which we are filling up. Once I've filled up this box, it'll go amongst all the other many boxes in the vault of ancient science fiction down below the manor. And I will attempt to read all of them before I die. Many people who watch this channel have no confidence in my ability to do this. I can't imagine. Anyway, I have one more box. There are already some books in this box. I'll show them to you real quick, even though most of these are the books I've gotten recently, like the Star Wasps, Ace Double, Warlord of Kor from Terry Carr and Robert Moore Williams. I've got The Lunar Eye by Robert Moore Williams. Flip that over, and it's The Towers of Toron by Samuel R. Delany. These books I've just got recently from my mom. No, these weren't from my mom. These are different. I can't remember what came when. Did these come from? I don't remember. Let the Spaceman Beware by Paul Anderson and The Wizard of Starship Poseidon by Kenneth Bulmer. No, these I got elsewhere. This one I got from my mom. This is The Cats in Space. Cats in Space and Other Places, edited by Bill Fawcett. This one was from my mother. This one I got a while ago. This is Two Hawks from Earth by Philip Jose Farmer. Two Hawks from Earth with that awesome Boris Vallejo cover. Old Two Hawks there. This one I got at a little free library a while ago. This is Isaac Asimov Presents The Great Science Fiction Stories, number 9, 1947. That's in here, along with the 11th annual The Year's Best SF, edited by Judith Merrill. That's in here. Interesting cover. Okay, these I got all from my mom. Roger Zelazny, To Die in Italbar is in here. Pierre Barbet's Cosmic Crusaders. Harry Harrison's Bill the Galactic Hero. James Blish and Robert Lowndes' The Duplicated Man. And finally, The First Book of Swords by Fred Saberhagen. So mixed amongst the vintage science fiction is some vintage fantasy and even some vintage horror. There's some of that in there. It's mostly science fiction, but you know, it's all vintage. So anyway, we had a blast in the 1970s. We almost didn't come back, but we did. We came back so we can talk to you about our thrilling purchases. Now, before we left, I did pick up one book which is recently published, but it is a vintage story, and that is The Human Termites. The Human Termites. This is by David H. Keller, MD. It's important that you know that he's an MD, so you know you got to take this book serious. It's by an MD about killer termites. They planned the massacre of mankind. So this is a double novel. On the other side, it's got The Ambassador from Mars by Harl Vincent, the ambassador from Mars. The ambassador from Mars. I could speak sometimes. So I found out about this book on Telltale Books, the fantastic booktube channel that you should all watch, Telltale Books. It's amazing. I'll link his review to this book down below. Telltale Books did a great review of the Human Termites. So yeah, it got me to buy that book. Of course it did. Now, the rest of these, Roger and I picked up on our adventures in the 1970s. So I'm not sure, I don't think all of these are going to go into the box. This one is not, for example, because I just read it last year, and it's only sort of a science fiction novel. This is a horror novel, a pretty graphic horror novel by James Herbert, The Fog. The Fog. I did a lengthy review of this. I had a lot to say about The Fog. I'll link it down below because you don't want to miss any of my thrilling videos. No, you don't. So The Fog, the yellow slimy cloud of evil and corruption oozed secretly from the depths of the earth to turn human beings into murderous beasts. A novel by James Herbert, author of The Rats. Now, I got this because I didn't have a physical copy of it. I read it on the Kindle, but look how awesome this is. All these people all freaking out and having a good time in the fog. All these people seem to be having a lot more fun than they did in the actual novel. Terrible, terrible things happen in this book, but yeah, I just read it last year, so I'm not going to throw it in there. And this one we picked up before I realized I have the hardcover of this. This is Groff Conklin. Groff Conklin, the king of vintage science fiction collections, the anthologies. Groff Conklin. This is the science fiction omnibus, which I do have the hardcover of, which I realized when we got back to our own time. You know, hanging out in the 1970s, some of the things you do back then, you know, it's hard to remember or think straight. So we got Groff Conklin's The Science Fiction Omnibus, which, you know, I already have. So this will probably be sent off to David Wiley at some point. Famous booktuber David Wiley, who you don't want to confuse with Philip Wiley, the author of The Gladiator. The Gladiator. And now it can get confusing because if you look at this cover, this fella here, if you shave David Wiley's beard off and take off David Wiley's shirt, this is what he looks like, I'm sure. This is a clone, pretty much, of David Wiley. You know, if David Wiley were to shave, he'd look just like this guy. So this is The Gladiator by Philip Wiley. And this is rather famous for being a story of a man who has superpowers. And this book was published in 1930 and almost certainly helped to inspire the character of Superman. Some people claim that Superman is a ripoff of The Gladiator by Philip Wiley. I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, they read this book. Those two kids who created Superman. Yeah. The Gladiator by Philip Wiley. So I have this on the Kindle, but I didn't have a physical copy of it, and now I do, and into the final box of vintage science fiction it goes. What else did we pick up? We picked up this one. This is 12 great classics of science fiction, not crappy classics. This is 12 great classics of science fiction. I don't know what's going on this cover. In the back you have a detail of, I don't know, it's something's going on there. 12 great classics of science fiction, edited by Groff Conklin, again, the king of vintage science fiction anthologies. This has Robert Sheckley, Frederick Brown, George Sumner Albee, J.F. Bone, Paul Anderson, Cordwainer Smith. A lot of guys. There are a lot of guys in here. The science fiction, the 12 great classics of science fiction. So yeah, that's pretty cool. It's a gold medal book. So in there it goes. Next one, we've got a book from Fritz Leiber. Fritz Leiber. This is The Night of the Wolf. This is a collection of four novellas. This is a collection of four novellas from Night of the Wolf. Yeah, from Fritz Leiber. And on the back, it's real cool. It's got some of the other books from Ballantine at this time by Fritz Leiber. When was this published? I'm curious. This is early. This is 1966. Roger and I got this at a used bookstore back in 1973, I think. It was probably when we picked this up. You know, we went just 1 year every couple days. We'd hop in the time machine. You know, went through all the 70s. It was awesome. So, yeah, Fritz Leiber's The Night of the Wolf. Got that. Then we've got this one. This is New Dreams This Morning. New Dreams This Morning, which is an odd title for a science fiction anthology, but there you go, New Dreams This Morning. This is edited by James Blish, who I've talked about frequently recently, it seems like, here at Stately Vaughan Manor. New Dreams This Morning has stories by all the usual suspects: Isaac Asimov, James Blish, Harry Harrison, Damon Knight, K.M. Kornbluth, Edgar Pangborn, and Robert Silverberg. All the usual suspects in the New Dreams This Morning. Then we've got a book from Robert Heinlein. This is Robert Heinlein, Methuselahs Children, which has an awesome cover. And I don't remember if I already have this book. I might already have this book in the Vault of Ancient Science Fiction. I probably do. But look at this cover, man. It's got like a rocket ship and a crazy city and weird people from the future. It's Methuselahs Children by Robert A. Heinlein, and it looks awesome. It looks awesome, so I picked it up. This is another one I might have already. This is Robert Sheckley's Shards of Space. Do I have this one? Does anybody remember? I don't. But again, cool cover. Shards of Space by Robert Sheckley. Into the final box of vintage science fiction it goes. It's the final box. This next one is really awesome. I was happy to find this. This is The People of the Mist by H. Rider Haggard. The People of the Mist by H. Rider Haggard. A classic fantasy adventure story, which is published here in the Ballantine Adult Fantasy Series, edited by Lynn Carter. I love books from this series, the Ballantine Adult Fantasy Series, but I don't have that many of them. So, of course, I was very happy to get this one, The People of the Mist by H. Rider Haggard. H. Rider Haggard. He was awesome. So there you go. People of the Mist from H. Rider Haggard. Next we have Paul Anderson's A Night of Ghosts and Shadows. Look at that awesome cover. Where was this book during Garbogust? I could have used this book during Garbogust just for that cover alone. So Paul Anderson's A Night of Ghosts and Shadows. I've never read this book by Paul Anderson. It looks intriguing. So here it is, A Night of Ghosts and Shadows from Paul Anderson. That looks like fun. Into the last box it goes. Now this one, I'm almost certain I do have a physical copy of this. Other than this, I have all of these from E.E. Smith in on the ebook as ebooks. As ebooks, I have them. But the Skylark of Space, do I have a physical copy of it? I don't remember, but now I know for sure that I do. And it's got this trippy old-timey cover. So yeah, the Skylark of Space from Edward E. Smith. From Edward E. Smith. Here you go. Into the box of vintage science fiction. The last box. It's the last box, right? That's what he says. He's always so dependable, Roger. You can always trust everything he says. So this is kind of a horror anthology, isn't it? Yeah, horror stories from tales to be told in the dark. Horror stories from tales to be told in the dark. Ooh, creepy. Edited by Basil Davenport. And it's got The Beast with Five Fingers by W.F. Harvey's in here. Stephen Hall's in here. Saki's in here a couple times. Lord Dunsany with the two bottles of relish. Lord Dunsany's in here. And one of our favorite authors of all time, Anonymous. Anonymous is in here with a couple stories. So, yeah, Tales to be Told in the Dark. Horror stories from Tales to be Told in the Dark. So, yeah, here you go. This one looks like it might have been floating around in a flooded basement for a while, but here I have Promised Land by Brian M. Stableford. Promised Land by Brian M. Stableford. I can't. It's early, guys. It's early. You know, we just got back from the 1970s late last night, and it's 5 o'clock in the morning, so I can speak. I can barely speak, so here you go. Promised Land by Brian M. Stableford. I love the cover on this. That's pretty cool. It's kind of trippy. Next, we have Tales of Known Space, the Universe of Larry Niven. Tales of Known Space from Larry Niven. Yeah, it's tales from space that we know. It's tales from known space as opposed to unknown space. This one looks pretty cool. This is selected stories from the Astounding Science Fiction Anthology. Selected stories from the Astounding Science Fiction Anthology, edited by John Campbell Jr. Of course. And Murray Leinster, Lester Del Rey, Isaac Asimov, Clifford D. Simak, A.E. Van Vogt. All of those guys are in here, of course, for the Astounding Science Fiction Anthology. Selected stories from this Astounding Science Fiction Anthology. Look at that creepy thing. That city there is in big trouble from that huge, ghastly alien monster. So fun times ahead in this book, I think. That's pretty cool. So this next one is interesting. This is Ben Orkow's. Ben Orkow wrote this book. For all of you Ben Orkow fans, When Time Stood Still. When Time Stood Still. The story of a man and woman whose great love carries them beyond death from 1962 into the unknown challenges of 2007. 2007, the distant future of 2007. Do you remember the unknown challenges of 2007? I don't. I'm sure we must have had them, but 2007, that was a while ago in the past, even though it's the future. It's all very confusing. I know. Roger and I, we know how that is since, we're always traveling through time. So this next one is The Valley of Creation by Edmund Hamilton, and I'm almost certain I already have this. I didn't realize it earlier, but now, looking at it, I'm like, I'm 98.6% sure that I talked about this book recently, I got it in the halls of adventure somewhere. I'm pretty sure. I think this is going to be sent off to the aforementioned David Wiley. I think that's probably what's going to happen with that. But I also have Rogue Moon. It's Rogue Moon from Algis Budrys. Algis Budrys. Rogue Moon. It's Rogue Moon. A moon has gone rogue. Rogue Moon. Another gold medal book. Pretty cool, these old gold medal science fiction vintagey books. Rogue Moon. Here you go. A few left to put in the last box of vintage science fiction. Time in Advance by William Tenn. The future is coming. It sure is. The future's coming, man, whether you like it or not. 4 prophetic and astounding novelettes from one of today's most brilliant young writers. That is no longer true. It was, yesterday for me and Roger, but today, no, it's no longer true. But the book is still here. Time in Advance. The book is still young. It's not. It's an old book at this point. Time in Advance. This next one's really cool, and it's horror, actually. This is The Devil's Generation. The Devil's Generation. Look at that guy. It's The Devil's Generation, edited by Vic Gedalia. featuring stories by Ray Bradbury, Richard Matheson, Anthony Boucher, Robert Bloch, August Derleth, Robert Silverberg, Clifford D. Samac, Henry Kuttner, and Algernon Blackwood. That is an awesome group of authors there for this great collection, The Devil's Generation, this awesome anthology. It's got to be awesome if you have all those guys in it and you have a cover like that on front. So that's The Devil's Generation. Horror, but I'm putting it in there anyway. Next, we have John Wyndham. John Wyndham, this is Tales of Gooseflesh and Laughter. Again, another book. I couldn't remember whether I had it already, so you better get it. If you don't remember for sure, you better pick these things up. John Wyndham, a master of science fiction and fantasy. I do like John Wyndham an awful lot, so you better get it just in case. So I got it just in case I didn't already have it. Tales of Gooseflesh and Laughter. That's an odd title. That's very strange. One book left, and that would be Isaac Asimov's The Martian Way. The Martian Way by Isaac Asimov, The Martian Way and Other Stories. That's pretty cool. The Martian Way and Other Stories. I love the cover on this one. So vintagey, so awesome. And you know what I just noticed? I expected to fill up this box, but there's still some room in there. See? There's still some room in this box. Well, geez. I guess we've got no choice but to get more books, yeah? I think we're going to have to get more books, which means perhaps more time travel adventures. Who knows? Who knows? You never know what's going to happen around here in the thrilling and exciting Vaughn Manor. Okay, guys, I will catch you next time. I'm going to rest up and relax after our exciting voyage into the past. 1970s, man, what a crazy time. A terrible time for some things. I still think hair looked terrible in the 1970s. Fortunately, I don't have to worry about that. But, it was awesome. I had a good time. Okay, guys, I will catch you next time.